Hi guys, happy Wednesday, happy live. I apologize, I am late and I look a little whatever. Just doing lots of running around today for Airbnbs and to be honest, shopping for stuff for the motel. I'm gonna do my normal, so obviously, not obviously, but it's almost a long weekend. So normal would be answer your guys' questions that have come in, do happy news and real estate updates, okay? So if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Otherwise, I will just blab away like normal. Hope you guys are all amazing and well and looking forward to your long weekend and enjoying the little bit of break from the heat. There was a nice breeze today. I don't know, I appreciate it. Charlie under the desk right now, I appreciate it. So I hope you guys are all healthy and well. So the first question comes in from Sarah, and Sarah is in menacing. So Sarah said, my kids have an oasis basically of kid stuff in our backyard. Swings, above ground pool, trampolines, slip and slide. We are thinking of listing, but are wondering if we should scale it back a bit to appeal to more buyers. Thank you, Sarah, for asking, and congrats on your upcoming move. I don't know how big your yard is. So for example, I had clients buy a home that had an above ground pool as well. There was a fire pit, there was a trampoline, etc. No slip and slide. You up them on that for sure. But it was a really, really wide lot and reverse pie, so it was huge. So it just showed like there could have been 5 other pools there, etc. But if your yard is small and it's basically taking up everything, then yes, I would, step it back a bit and so forth. But if your yard's big and there's still room to do other things, then I wouldn't worry about it. But if it's a bit tight, yeah, then maybe, you have the pool, you have the swing set, the trampoline's probably dead grass underneath, but if you could put some seed down, or I don't know, I would just, if it's too tight, yes, but if there's lots of room, I wouldn't worry about it. But thank you for asking. So a couple of happy news before we jump into the real estate. So there was a woman in Vietnam that basically turned her life around. So you've probably heard at some point of, when people just put a baby on somebody's front steps or in a garbage can or what have you, in different countries, etc. Obviously it happens sometimes in North America as well. But there was a lady that, she was a baby back then. When she was a baby, she was dropped on somebody's front steps, and those people put her, I guess, up for adoption, or I don't know how it really works. She ended up in an orphanage. She was adopted a couple of times, but unfortunately she ended up in like sex trafficking, etc. She ended up getting out of that, and she ended up volunteering at an orphanage, and then in 2001 she opened her own, and she has adopted 346 children to date. They all go to school, they all have a safe place to live, etc. until they are adopted, and they call her basically the Mother Teresa of Vietnam. So I like that. The next question comes from Jamie, and Jamie is in Barrie. So Jamie said, if July 12th happens to be another rate increase, how long will it be before prices come down? So Jamie, thank you for asking. So Jamie is asking in reference to the Bank of Canada. So they did their last one, I guess it's 3 weeks ago now. So it went up 0.25, so it's 4.75, which is the highest it has been since 2001. And July 12th is the next announcement. So she's just saying if it does go up, how long till the prices come down? So there's no like set in stone answer for that. So a lot of people, for example, right now, they're locked in for 90 days. So even though it went up 3 weeks ago, theirs isn't up because they're locked in for 90 days. But if people already have a variable mortgage, etc., they were probably given a letter in the mail saying, hey, your payment's gone from this to this. So those people are affected right away. Or if people had lines of credits and so forth that had to do with the average rate, then that would have gone up as well. But there's nothing set in stone. So let's just say, for example, there's supposed to be 400 to 500,000 immigrants coming to Canada every year. So let's just say, yes, the interest rates have gone up, but if there's still tons of people buying, and there's still a whole bunch of first-time buyers buying, and there's still that age of millennials buying, etc., maybe it won't come down, maybe it will, but there's no set in stone answer. Also, the next one that happens, will it go up again then? Like last year we had 7 in a row, or is it going to be 2, this last one, then this one go up again, and then are the next 5 not going to go up or going to go down, etc. So it's kind of unknown, obviously, because we don't know what's going to happen with the next ones. But it did go up once in January 25th, then twice it didn't go up, and now once it's gone up again. So unfortunately, I don't have the answer for you, so I apologize. That's a runaround of not a full answer for you, but hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Feel free to call me if you want, in case you want some more details, but thank you for asking. So I'm sure many of you have heard of black belt in judo, which I have as well, but I didn't know there was actually 10 levels above that. And a man in the UK, he's 90, he just got his 9th level, so he only has 1 more level left, and he's actually only one of 6 people in the United Kingdom that have that. which is crazy. He's obviously the oldest one that has it, but I thought that was cute. So he said he stumbled onto judo in a book when he was in the armed forces. And then he became a teacher. He opened 3 schools. He had over 520 students at one time, not like in his whole career, but at one time. He was in the Olympics in what year? 1964, and he also was referee for it. He's traveled to over 160 countries doing like competitions and stuff. And the most known person for judo, I guess, is Ronda Rousey, or however you say her name. And he said that he loves the sport, he loves his life, and he feels not a day over 75. So I just thought it was cute. Next question comes from Graham, and Graham is in Barrie. So Graham said, I live in an outdated home, but I keep it really clean and definitely have the pride of ownership thing down pat. I have received a bonus for doing 20 years at my current company and want to do something different with my home. I also have a bit saved up myself as well. I can basically do my kitchen or change out the baseboard and add furnace and air conditioning. What should I do? Congrats, Graham, on your 20 years, and that's very nice of your company that they, did that for you and gave you a bonus. So sometimes people just like get a pen or a watch or something like that. So if possible, obviously in an ideal world, I'd love you to do both. If, for example, the kitchen, maybe you could keep the boxes and you could literally just change the fronts, because that's way cheaper. Lots of times the boxes are fine, and once you change the fronts, it makes a world of a difference. So if you could do that, maybe you'd have extra money and you could do the furnace as well, and maybe just not get the AC or something. You could keep the boxes, do the front, do the counter, and a floor, and hopefully that saves you some money. But if you can't do that and it's like a write-off basically, and you have to choose between the furnace and AC or the kitchen, I would pick the kitchen just because it's the main thing people look at. But thank you for asking, and hopefully that answers your question. Again, if anybody ever, I always do like short form, quick answers as possible. If you want ever more details, feel free to reach out to me at the office, 705-726-7000. Again, 705-726-7000. So there was a couple in Kansas City, and basically they had a honeymoon in 1983, so 40 years ago. But I guess for some reason they didn't say why. They had to come back early, and basically back in 1983, this concierge person gave them a certificate that said if you come back on your honeymoon month for whenever, they will honor the rate. And the rate at that time was $38 a night. So on their 40th wedding anniversary, which was this month, they found this certificate when they were looking through their photo album, and they called the hotel thinking that they wouldn't honor it or what have you, but the hotel said that they would honor it. So they ended up going there, and I don't know, I just thought it was cute because lots of people wouldn't honor it, and it even changed names, but it was the same location. Somebody else had bought it out. So I just thought it was cute because, I don't know, they're in love and they still are celebrating their wedding, and it's 40 years later, and the hotel didn't have to. Obviously, it was a different hotel then, so I just thought it was cute. So now I'm going to do real estate updates, okay? So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I will just blab away. So a lot of people ask what's going on recently. So if I had to put it in, a nutshell and what have you, the main thing is that low-price homes are still going crazy. Not to say that higher-priced homes aren't selling, they are, but obviously just not as crazy as lower-priced homes. And there's still tons of people leaving the province. Those are, if I had to say, hey, what are the 2 main things happening in the real estate market? Those are the 2 main things that are happening. So there was a report from a finance and insurance company, and it looked at different places, seeing basically how much you had to make on average per year, per household, whether it was 1 person or 2 people or etc. living in the home, to afford a 1,500 square foot home. So shockingly, in Guelph, you need to make over $220,000, $221,829 to be specific, and or precise, or whatever you want to say, specific. And in Toronto, it was even higher. In Toronto, you have to make $591,828 to buy a 1,500 square foot home. And in Ontario as a whole, because of the average, you have to make $175,491. So not to say that people don't own homes that make less than that. It's just if you're brand new getting into the home buying market, etc., that's how much you have to make to buy a 1,500 square foot home, which is crazy, which is why, like I said before, so many people are leaving the province, okay? A lot are leaving the country as well, but more just leaving the province. So that is another reason. And what they based that off of was a 25-year amortization mortgage at 4.89. So that was that. And Timmins, super cheap, you only have to make $64,896. I say only, that's still a lot of money, but if you think of two people, you know, 32,000 or whatever and change. So Timmins is much cheaper. And just because I started with Guelph, so Guelph, the average home is over 910,000, just as an FYI, okay? So if people don't want to leave the province, where are most people going? They are going north. They are going to North Bay. They're going to Sudbury. They're going to Timmins. They're going to Thunder Bay, Halliburton, Parry Sound. Okay, those are the main places. And average prices in those places, I'll tell you. So Sudbury is just over 429,000. Thunder Bay is just over 311,000. Halliburton is just over 435,000. And Parry Sound's most expensive, over 699,000. So there was a recent study done of 2,223 Canadians. And 43% of the people that were first-time buyers that bought in the past 2 years, as well as 36% of the people that plan on buying the next 2 years, think that it's still a good time and they're still optimistic about the market. Whereas only 13% of people that have owned 5, 10, 15 years, etc., think that it's a good time to buy, which I just thought was interesting, or buy and sell, what have you. And then the average priced home in Canada has gone up over 100,000 since January, which is lovely and amazing. Well, that's not true. It's lovely and amazing for people that already own homes, not lovely and amazing for first-time buyers. So I should rephrase that. 52% of those people said that it was the right decision for them, which I thought was kind of not whatever. It's only half the people basically thought it was right that they bought in the past 2 years. But I mean, obviously if they bought March or April or May or whatever last year, I can understand why half don't like it, because that was not a great financial decision since we're down from then. What else? More than 25% of people said that the inflation rates and the interest rates have not affected their ability to pay their bills, which is good. A quarter, I mean, a quarter's not that much, but they said it did not affect it. Just because it did not affect it, there's still obviously some, doesn't mean they have to sell, but it might affect it that they're like, hey, let's not get Uber Eats all the time, or let's not go out as much as possible, etc. It doesn't mean the other 75% are losing their home. So homes are not that drastic. So of the active buyers in the study, 43% of them said they're going to wait a little bit longer just to see what happens with the next announcement, whereas 35% say they don't care what happens at the July 12th announcement, they're buying regardless. More than 1/3 of buyers said that they're looking into smaller homes. So not first-time buyers, just buyers in general said they're looking into smaller homes because they don't want to be stretched too thin. So they could live in like a beautiful home in, let's just say, Midhurst or what have you, and then they're coming into a smaller home in Barrie in a more subdivision type lot because they don't want to be stretched so thin. So again, over 1/3 of the people said that, which we are experiencing a lot of that at our brokerage. And many people, first-time buyers, revealed that their family is going to help with the down payment. 35% actually said that. And 44% of those people said if they didn't get the down payment from their family members, they would not be able to buy. So almost half. So in Toronto, 25% more homes sold in May of 2023 versus 2022, which is lovely. 9,012 changed hands to be exact. And that just shows that buyers aren't afraid, like, hey, the interest rates went up 7 times last year and twice this year. However, we still want to buy. So that is good. They are not postponing or leaving the province, etc. Also, many people that were on the sidelines before that they thought like, hey, we think the market's going to crash, or we think this, that, or the other, are now back into the market because of the 2 times that the interest rates didn't go up. And then obviously we still have tons of immigration, so there's lots of people. However, the sellers haven't entered the market as quickly as the buyers have. So the buyers heard, hey, first the Bank of Canada didn't up the rate, then it didn't up it again, and they all flooded back in. Whereas the sellers are like, hey, I remember last year's prices, it's still not as high as last year, so I'm not going to list. So there's not as many people selling, so the demand is there, but the inventory is still not there, okay? So that is still happening. What else? So last month in Toronto, there were over 15,000 new listings, 15,194 to be exact, and that was 19% less than last year. It was 19 point something, but I just said 19% less than last year. So not a lot of listings, and just showing that the supply cannot keep up with it, and obviously that puts pressure on the prices to skyrocket or go up, at least not necessarily as crazy as it went up in 2022. I shouldn't say skyrocket. So the average price of a home in Toronto last month was $1,196,000 and change. Sometimes I do just Barrie, sometimes I do Toronto, sometimes I do Canada in general, but just to give you guys an idea. So that was 4% higher than the month before. So that is lovely. And then in, again, lovely for the people that own, not lovely for the first time buyers. So I should be more specific. So the average price of a townhome in Toronto, it also went up 2.5%. And that's not obviously common for things to be going up from last year. So that was 2.5% from last year, not from last month. It's common to see it go up each month, but not anything from last year. So that's crazy that the townhomes went up 2.5% from last year. And now the average is over $1 million for a townhome in Toronto. A detached increased 1% in change, and it's about 1.556 million and change in Toronto. And semi-detached homes went down, but only a little bit, and they're down to 1.198 and change right now in Toronto. And condos fell the most. They fell 3%, or obviously didn't go up. They fell 3%, and they're now averaging 748, 843 in Toronto. So the average home price in Toronto this year is 1.135 and change, and last year was 1.189. And then in 2021, it was 1,095,000 and change. So it's still higher than 2021, obviously higher than 2020, 2019, etc. So it's only down from 2022, and it's only like 54,000. It's not tons down. It's not like 300,000 or anything like that. So there was an article saying about the housing market missing the middle mark, and what that basically means is it's not condos or what have you that are missing. It's not mansions that are missing, it's the middle stuff, because a lot of times in Toronto they tear down like 6 blocks, etc., and they put all these massive condos, etc., but those tend to be more first-time buyers or downsizing people, you know, in their 60s or 70s, etc. It's the middle family that they're missing. There's not as many homes for them to buy, so that's the missing middle, what they mean. What else? There was something that said, will the prices ever go back to pre-pandemic? And the general consensus is no, it will not. Canada actually has gone up. Their prices have gone up 11% over last month as a whole. So that is that. Next question. Next question comes from Jeremy, and Jeremy's in Barrie. Jeremy said, I heard you bought a motel. My wife and I have stayed at a few of your Airbnbs and really enjoyed it. How do we go about finding your motel? Thank you, Jeremy, for asking and staying at the Airbnbs in the past. So to be honest, it's not currently rented like a motel. It's currently rented like long-term rentals. Once it is rented like a motel, I can let you guys know, but it is currently not like that. So unless you plan on moving in for a longer time, it's not currently up like that, but I will let you guys know once it's all nice and purty. So there was, again, I go over like happy news too, and not just real estate. So there was a fawn, so a little baby deer, and it fell in a sewer grate somehow. Don't ask me how. I guess there's like that gap between, in some places, the sidewalk and it. And so the mother deer was pacing around the area, and people noticed it's weird. There's this deer here and not leaving, and then they heard sounds, etc., and kind of figured it out. The fire department got it out, and the happy mama was waiting in the bushes, and when they got it out, she came out, and it was just really cute. So I like it. Next question comes from Crystal, and Crystal is in Elmvale. Crystal said, my boyfriend and I would love to live on acreage, but heard that banks don't care much about the acreage. Could you explain this to me, or do you know what I'm referring to? Yes, Crystal, I know what you're referring to. So normally banks only like 5 acres. The odd bank likes 10 acres. There is an actual kind of like a credit union that deals strictly with just farms. However, it's more like animals and that kind of thing. So I'm not sure if they do it if it's just acreage without animals, to be honest. But so if, for example, you bought a 100-acre property just with a home, the bank is usually going to appraise it just with 5 acres. So they're going to say, hey, what is this home worth if it only had 5 acres? And then let's just say it's $200,000 less than the purchase price that you have paid. The bank will say, hey, give me your deposit, whatever you're planning on paying, your down payment, plus this extra $200,000, which most people don't have. So then they usually back out because of financing. So that is a reason that it's harder to get financing for acreage. So thank you for asking, and hopefully you can find a nice piece of property for you, and I don't know, get it before 2024. It's weird to say 2024. But thank you for asking. So what else? There was a fire station, and they basically heard a bell. And so there's this thing called Safe Haven Baby Box. It's more than a dozen states in the United States, and basically is what it sounds like. Safe Haven Baby Box. You literally drop a baby if you want. So you hear sometimes of babies being put in dumpsters or being left or what have you. So this is a safe, anonymous, you don't have to put your name, you don't have to put anything. This baby got dropped off. It had a shoelace around its umbilical cord. And turns out the firefighter that was working that night had been trying with his wife for 10 years to have a baby. They obviously he doesn't just take it. It has to go to the hospital and go through the whole adoption process. But they ended up adopting this little baby. And they've taken in 32, saved, whatever you want to call it, 32 babies this year. So I thought that was cute that people have an alternative, and this man and his wife got to have a new baby. So next question comes from Tina, and Tina is in Stroud. So Tina said, I have a very wide lot and don't use it. Do you think it would be beneficial to sell it and subdivide it, or do you think I will get more money keeping it as a wide lot with my home? Thank you, Tina, for asking. So to be honest, if the township or city or wherever you live will let you sever it, usually 99% of the time it's worth more as a full separate lot than as opposed to, hey, you have 60 feet of frontage. Not 60, that's not very big. You have 100 feet of frontage and your neighbor only has 70. They're not going to care. Like, yes, it is worth a bit more, but not the amount that you would get if it was a full detached lot. So if your township or city or wherever you live, I forget where it said you live, Stroud, if they let you do that, then I would do that. So Stroud's in it still. So if they let you do that, then I would do that. Okay, thank you for asking. Next thing is a little bit of happy news of a man in Sweden. So there was a fellow not happy at the beginning because he was in a motorcycle accident and he was paralyzed from the waist down. But basically he's volunteered himself to all of these crazy studies. I shouldn't say crazy, but studies. And now he can actually walk a few hundred feet every day. He can go up and down stairs. He can get in and out of a car, etc. So there's an implant, they said, on his brain. So when he thinks to move his legs, it sends or detects it, it said, and then they put a pacemaker in his abdomen. I have no idea how that works, and somehow it makes his legs move. So basically, whatever in his spine that's damaged, it like skips that part and goes below it and then works below it. So I have no idea how that works. I think it's crazy and great at the same time. But thank you guys for popping in. Any real estate questions, feel free to ask. 705-726-7000. Again, 705-726-7000. Or if you have any questions about our 1% commission, thank you guys for voting us the #1 top choice real estate brokerage in Barrie the last 4 years in a row. And thank you for popping in. Have a super and safe evening. Be kind to one another. Thanks, guys.